This is season 3 of the Wellness Plug podcast. Hello
again.
Thanks for joining us once again. It's so great to have you join us, pluggers. Thank you so much for giving of your time and your energy and the next however long this is going to be, because we're just starting, so we don't know yet.
Oh my word.
But it's good to be back.
It's really good to be back with you.
Yeah, we've had a couple of months of no recording, doing life, and
or life doing us.
Fair enough. Sometimes that happens too. But the Wellness Plug podcast is officially starting season 3, and we've got some exciting things coming up, which we'll talk you through, including. Okay. I don't want to put too much of a spotlight on this card game that is very, very exciting, but. Where's a good place to start? I think a good place to start would be a catch-up of where we've been, what we've been doing over the last 6 months. I actually had to do a bit of a calculation now because it's May right now when we're recording this, which is Mental Health Awareness Month. A great time to start this as well, because our podcast is all about encouraging safety and a community where we can talk about the issues that help us to live life in a more positive and qualitative kind of way, right?
Absolutely.
So, let's quickly start by highlighting May being Mental Wealth Awareness Month. Mental wealth. I'm glad I said that. That slip-up was actually good.
I like that.
Because we're trying to build mental wealth.
Mental Wealth Awareness Month. you just thrown a whole new thing. I love it when we have those little moments of us we think it's a blooper moment, but it's actually a wellnessology moment.
Yeah.
So Mental Wealth Awareness Month.
My brain trying to tell me right now, you need to rebuild your mental wealth reserves. But what is the importance of mental health and, highlighting it, talking about it, forming those healthy relationships? Because recently with a lot of the football that I've been playing on Sundays, with the guys around, I find that during the game, after the game, we get into those conversations where, oh, Tiaga, how are you doing? Not sharp. I know it's so Spanish, so, and then you find yourselves like, okay, I feel better after having that conversation with somebody whom I don't ordinarily have that conversation with. So, the importance of this month.
It's a really good question to ask, Kat, because obviously for a lot of us in my particular field, it's something we navigate with patients and clients their whole lives. For me, Mental Health Awareness Month is about building a bank of safe spaces for yourself to stay sane, right? To stay stable and to stay resilient. Yeah. The thing about life is, the one thing about the human experience is there are certain chapters we're guaranteed to navigate as human beings. We're going to navigate the good time chapter. We're going to navigate the tough time chapter. Then sometimes we navigate the impossible chapter. And your mental health needs to be able to ground you through all those phases, because the goal, I'd like to believe, for most of us as human beings is to, at the very least, get through our lives in one piece and best case scenario, enjoy our lives. Yeah. The thing, though, that a lot of psychologists talk about is that as human beings, human beings do everything in their power throughout their lives to attract pleasure and avoid pain. So in general, when we look at the length of your life, it's very normal to want to constantly be happy, joyful, positive. It's where we all want to be, right? And it's where we sometimes mistakenly believe that is the standard of having good mental health, is when I'm happy, I'm joyful, I'm stress-free, I'm carefree. A lot of us actually think that's the goal, that's the destination. I want to be happy all the time. What you want is you want to be sane and sensible as many times as you can be to overcome the toughest moments of your life, and also to be present, right? Yeah. And to be completely engaged with all your joyful, happy times. You want to be a human being who has a constant place to ground you no matter what life is doing to you. Yeah. And for different people, that means different things. Mental health for most part, gets obviously affiliated with the psychological space.
Yeah.
And I guess medically so, because it deals with the psychology of a human being. But different things make up our psychology, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I mean, our emotional state adds to that little pot. Our physical health adds to that pot because it
Right.
talks to how we feel about ourselves in any
Right.
given moment. Our relational, or the quality of our relationships and the community around us adds to that. So yeah, you're right. Absolutely. There's so much. But I was just going back in my mind now when you were mentioning, the mental wealth part of things that we spoke about this in one of our very first episodes about the importance of depositing into that mental bank, if you want to say that way.
Correct.
Like, whether it be yourself in finding the right kind of things that suit your life, that help you to build
Yeah.
that wealth,
Yeah.
investing in your community, the quality of your relationships, that helps you when you get to those moments of near impossibility to go, oh
Absolutely.
yeah, I've had this compounding effect
Yes.
that's been growing in the
Yes.
background that I've been investing in terms of my mental health, and now I can tap into that, whether it is a person that you can speak to, whether it is something that you have developed in terms of a routine
Absolutely.
to get you through certain things. So yeah, we shouldn't forget about that. Mental health is not only something that we should focus on when things go bad.
That's right. It's an entire ecosystem of care. Taking care of your brain's health requires you to pour quite a bit into that, because the brain at a physiological level is an organ, yes. But if you think about it in a broader sense, your mind is the CEO of the rest of your body.
Yeah.
And so a lot of what you put into it daily will either serve you or harm you when the challenges come. And so the daily maintenance of your mental health is
Yeah.
about the daily pouring of things that allow you to be as strong and as resilient a human being when the time comes.
You know what I just thought about now? I think
Yeah.
that mental health and the general mental wealth we're trying to build involves a lot more discipline than we give it credit for, right? Because especially when things are going well, when nobody ever thinks about that day that's around the corner.
No?
When you're going to need to have those reserves. And so we don't have the discipline necessarily, and I speak for myself, the
hear you.
discipline to develop a routine when things are good.
Yeah.
To say, okay, now that things are good, this is what the structure of my life should look like.
Right.
The structure of my daily routine should look like.
Right.
To ensure that as often as possible, I find myself in this space. And then not wait until you hit the ground and you start rolling with momentum and, you're falling apart, that you go, where am I holding on to? What am I clutching onto to help me?
And that's the reason why I'm glad that our choice of focusing for this Mental Health Awareness Month is the power of resilience, and that the episode is centered around building this resilience, right? Because the box is supposed to be able to fortify your mental space so that when you do need to defend against any incoming danger, for lack of a better term, right? Because that's when most people feel the harm. There's so much focus, I feel, in the world globally enough on the mental illness part of this awareness conversation. But there isn't enough conversation about how to keep it healthy, how to maintain the mind, how to maintain the space that houses your thoughts, your feelings, your way of being.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we're here today to kind of put that aspect in the conversation.
Absolutely. By the way, shout out to the gents. Sunday league, Sunday soccer, Sunday. We actually call it Sunday service.
Oh, come on. I love that.
Sunday service. Afterwards, the picture that we usually take together is like, that's our congregation. And then, when we post it up, it's usually accompanied by some Jokoya.
You take me to church once, Katlego, we stay in church. But I'm really glad that it's so, you see, that act of you going outside, being in community with brethren, I'm gonna call since it's Sunday service, right? Being in community, and you do it frequently enough.
Yeah.
What you may not have been observing in yourself is just how positive an impact that has on your mental space.
Absolutely.
So maintaining your mental health requires a whole lot of different things outside of a routine, outside of doing activities. Sometimes it also requires you doing nothing. And it's in the nothingness that sometimes we get our most important answers. But a lot of us struggle with slowing ourselves down. And in this particular conversation, I think what's going to be great about how we reconnect with the pluggers after our absence is kind of bringing everyone back to themselves.
Yeah.
Through us having conversations about our own journeys. One of the reasons today is so important is we get to contextualize what mental wealth awareness should feel like for our pluggers. And I think what's going to be probably a hope uplifting for a lot of the pluggers is to hear the process of getting there through the stories we're willing to share. But I do want to acknowledge two very important members of our family who are currently on very important rest periods, because mental wealth is also closely related to rest. We want to give a shout out to our girl, our co-host, Lerato, who is on maternity leave. She does send her love. I will leave her to tell the story of the great joy in her life. We're just really, really happy for you, Larry. We want to say that we can't wait to have you back. And she's the voice from within. So you can imagine what a conversation with her about this topic would be like. But she's really, really, really in the space with us, and we acknowledge that. And then, of course, our creative director, Sive, who's always making sure that we've got the fire. He's currently working on Wheel of Fortune, which is a kind of a sister show, if I can say, to your very, very, very busy, successful, incredible show that I'm a big fan of, Deal or No Deal. So, Sive, we miss you as well. But we are going to represent. We've got a really rocking season ahead of us.
Absolutely. We've got some incredible guests who've agreed to come onto the platform. And especially this year as we turn 3. I mean, can you believe it?
Isn't it insane?
Are we 3 years old?
We are turning 3.
We are a toddler. Yes?
Yes, and now we can speak. We can speak proper words.
And we're getting to speak to some very interesting people who, as I said, have agreed to come onto the platform. Drop some names there, just some taste teasers.
Look, season 3 is the housewarming edition. We've been building our house nice and slowly the first 2 years, and I think this is the year we can welcome our people to come and see our house.
The couches are in, the flowers and plants are there.
Do you know what I mean?
We've swept the dust from the corners.
Maybe one sofa, and I'm not sure if we've got the full set. You know, like when we grew up, there was always that full set, the 3-seater, 2-seater. Well, I'm not sure where we are now.
Some people might have to sit on the floor, but it's fine.
It's fine. Even the bean bags are also welcome, right?
Up.
All right, but we've got some really interesting names. I think one of them obviously needs no introduction. It will be her first podcast ever. And she has chosen the Wellness Plug.
Wow.
The iconic Basitsana Kumalo will be gracing us this year. I think I cannot wait to... She is such an ever ready vessel of wisdom and knowledge, and she is such a teacher and someone who's been very, very closely connected to both our journeys. And I think it was just time. I think one of the beautiful things about the timing of things is when you know, and it was her who said, guys, I want to come. So we couldn't be more honored that we're going to have her come and talk about a journey of hope and wellness. We've got some other very interesting names. The Nandi Madida, she said yes.
My goodness.
We've got award-winning chef Sibam Tongana dropping by. Another award-winning chef Zola Nene dropping by. I mean, Dibalantonina.
Wow. Those are some powerhouses.
So I like that our house is definitely opening its doors to some interesting human beings. You know, I always say to people, as much as people have public profiles, the beauty I love about the Wellness Plug is the humanity of our conversations and how we humanize people that so often we don't respect enough to treat as human. I think this journey of celebrity always fascinates me, and I think whenever we have wellness conversations with personalities that, you know, are very popular in the public, I always love discovering all those different layers that make them them. And we've also got some interesting medical guests coming on this year. I'm bringing in some of the guns to come and talk about important topics. We'll be talking about ADHD this year. We'll be talking about the importance of organ donation this year. We're also going to talk about chronic pain. I think pain is such an interesting journey that a lot of people go through quietly. And whether it's from a chronic condition, whether it's from surgery, I think some of these topics are things that just need to be brought to the surface. So I'm excited about the show. I think we've got a very blended season, and everyone is obviously welcome on the Wellness Plug. We don't just do the big names. I think one of the things that we sometimes overlook about creating conversations like we do is that necessarily people think you've got to have the big brand, the big name to make the conversation significant. I think we've proven in our first 2 years that it's the quality of the conversation that comes first. But I am definitely keen to ride the wellness train with all these wonderful human beings. And I think they're not safe from us a little bit.
They're not safe.
Yeah.
Wow. Unexpected.
Just warning.
Unexpected.
Just warning all the cadres that are coming onto the plug. At the plug, we like to show proof of life. So there are all sorts of things that they get up to. We get up to a lot of things in this.
We do. And I think one of the things that they might not expect, depending on whether they've watched the Wellness Plug podcast, is that we get really honest and really down to the nitty-gritty when we ask the question, how are you?
Oh, man.
It's not just I'm fine. No.
Everything's great.
How are you today?
You know what? I'm sitting at a 5.5 today.
5.5 out of 10?
Yeah. I was... That's you know when you literally peaking at average. We always keep it real on the plug, and I'll tell you why it's a 5.5. It was soaring at a nice 7 until I got my blood results a couple of days ago.
A couple of days ago,
man, and I went for my 6-month checkup, and some of them were great, some of them were not so great. So you know my morale and energy level just kind of aligned to the blood results.
Right.
But as the good doctor has reminded me, it's an entire marathon. It's not a sprint. And I'm just grateful to even be here. So that 5 of the 5.5 is the gratitude. And the 0.5 is that I still want to be above average. And the big question is, how are you doing, little brother?
Yo. I was driving to the venue today.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, I'm a solid 4.
Yes.
I had an analogy in my mind. I felt like shattered glass this morning.
Oh,
like just
man.
my mind feels fragmented. There are so many different things that require my attention at this very moment, that it feels like, I'm a little bit all over the place. You
feel like you're everywhere.
I'm everywhere and nowhere all at the same time. Because
you.
Whatever it is that I need to do right now is taking the time, but there are hundreds of other things. But I mean, these are the things that we go through in life, right? And then you tap into those mental resources, those emotional resources that you have been building up over time. And I'm so glad that over the last 6 months, I got to do some very important things for me.
Tell me
right?
about where have you been?
I mean, in December, it's become like our annual pilgrimage for myself and Phoenix to go home. And when I say home, I mean Itoseng,
Yes. Yes.
To not just see my mom and my sister and my extended family, but also just for him to plug into that side of himself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's always special when we get to go to Kolesakeng to go and see the cows. And, he's always so excited about it. And I get a lot of joy from seeing my 5-year-old connect with that part of himself. So that was the one element.
Yeah.
And I also became an uncle, officially an uncle.
Welcome.
In November of 2023.
Okay.
So that was quite nice because Phoenix also got to see his cousin.
Oh, for the first time.
For the very first time. And he's like, oh man, he's enamored with him. So that was very, very lovely to see him connecting with the family that way.
Right.
And then my nephew also had his christening.
Okay.
About 2 months ago.
So you went to that as well.
I went back again to go and see and be part of it. And it was so great. And I never thought that I would appreciate being an uncle so much. The day that I had to leave to come back home, my mom was like, oh yeah, go look in the deep freezer. There's a whole sheep head and trotters that you have to eat. I'm like, what? She's like, yes. You are the uncle. So now you must handle uncle responsibility. I'm like, I ain't got 24 hours to eat a whole sheep head and trotters.
I love this.
I don't have the appetite for that. Don't you know I live a slim life? I don't have the stuff.
I hope your family forgives you for this.
No. It's fine. We handled it. But things like that have really served to recharge my batteries a little bit. And once again, I think align me to who I am.
Right.
Versus
Right.
what I am, and to the world especially, and what the world requires of me, such that at moments like these, I can say, okay, it's fine. I don't feel amazing right now.
Right.
And I've got to attend to this, that, and the other. But yeah, at the end of the day, I've got a family who love me, who care for me, and to whom I can always go back to recharge those batteries, right? So that was, I think, part of what made the last 6 months for me so amazing.
Yes.
And as well as, career-wise, the show is doing incredibly well.
Are busy.
Yeah.
Season 2?
We're changing people's lives. And it continues to be such a purposeful journey for me.
I
and the
really
team.
love you on that show. I really wanted to go on record. The more I watch you and the more I see South Africa respond to your energy, it is the most gratifying thing, because perfect host for the show. Whoever got it right at Prime Media, big up. Because I think every gig has its person. And until we had Deal or No Deal in South Africa, I don't think even South Africans had an appreciation of what kind of person could bring it to life. I've watched the international versions, Kat. I can tell you with complete clarity, you are the best guy for this job. And I see it with the way South Africa responds to you, even in the streets. I have the pleasure of just being your sister and just hang out with you. A walk with Katlego is no longer a walk. I'm literally like, don't worry, I'm the resident photographer. You want a picture? Let's take a picture. So don't you ever worry your fine selves, guys. I am right there with you as his fan. And I love the show. I mean, the way people even ask you little things of trying to squeeze into the show. How often do you have to tell people, guys, there's a process. You can't just talk to me. Talk to me and I'll put you in the show.
Look, I mean, if it was up to me, I'd have literally every single person in South Africa who wanted to be on the show, I'd put them on.
Right.
But, there is a process you've got to follow and enter, and you got to wait your turn, and the list is long.
I mean,
it's kind of like a blessing and a curse of the show doing so well. I mean, where we have over 200,000 standing applications waiting to
get a chance.
So, and hopefully the hope is that the show does so well that we run for the next 20 years. I think in the Netherlands, where the show originated,
yes,
they've been running the show for over 20 years consecutively. That's how popular the show is.
I like that already.
This could be one of those things that really helps to continue to change people's lives for the next 20 years.
From your lips to God's ears, brothers. Because one of the things, you see, I'm a bit nostalgic about watching a show like Deal or No Deal, because it's giving me a little bit of the Tatama Chance, Tatama Millions vibe. Right?
Zama Zama.
Yeah.
Wow.
I have
That's how
such...
old if you have no idea what we're talking about,
I have
okay.
no shame. No shame. You see,
neither
Zama Zama is Oksetaman and
Hey!
and Jam Ellie are right up there with legendary shows. And for me, Deal or No Deal is definitely up there with how it brings people into the room, and you're just rooting for people to get it right, and you're getting to know the banker and trying to I start guessing what the banker's going to offer now. I'm that invested.
But that's amazing, because I've seen even like little 3-year-olds having conversations with their parents about dilly dilly. And then I get emotionally touched, because on the show, I might not always show it, but there are moments when the banker makes an offer and I'm just like, if I could say what I need to say. Because I really want people to walk away with significant amounts of money. But obviously it's not always possible because of the statistics of the game, because it's a game of chance, right?
Yes.
So you take your chance,
right,
and sometimes you push the risk a little bit too far where you shouldn't. That's why winners always know where to stop. But I'm so emotionally invested in this show that sometimes I want to cry, but then I can't, because I've got to hold it together, because I'm the host of the show.
Interesting moment in the show where I watch when you really invested in the win. Like, you have a vein pop moment. Those of you who really watch the show will know this as a fan. There's a vein that comes out, and I'm just like, yeah, Kat is ready to say what he really wants.
Eric.
I used to watch Stress Eric too. I call it your Stress Eric moment. But it is an amazing show. I really, really love that show.
Thank you.
So I think for me, when I look at your next 6 months, what are you looking forward to the most?
Well, I mean, we're still in the thick of things.
Yeah.
in terms of filming Deal or No Deal.
Yeah.
And because it is such an energy intensive show, I'm only focusing on that.
Okay.
And once we're done, then I
Okay.
could dedicate my life to other things. Because, while this is also going on, I'm still Phoenix's dad primarily.
Yeah.
So that's an everyday thing for me in terms of my mental
biggest
capacity and what I
calling.
need to think. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Preparing the road ahead for him. He's
Right.
only 5 years old.
Yeah.
Another 13 years of school. He actually asked me yesterday.
What did he ask?
He's like, so how old are you going to be when I'm 18? And I was like, bro, that's a deep question, but okay if you want to go there. He's very interested in maths.
Okay.
And I'm like, I want to be 50. And he's like, oh, so that's like 37 plus. He's doing like the maths of it all. And I'm just like, dude, if you are already there at 5 years old, you're thinking about your future. How much more do I have to be
need to think
thinking about
about
it in order to plan and execute the steps to make sure that as far as possible, I can pave a way for you, So there's that part of it. I mean, that's just a small part of the conversation we had.
I got you.
And then once that's done, once Deal or No
Yeah.
Deal is on the side
Yeah.
and the second season is recorded, I'm thinking musically as well. I've been holding off on this project for such a long time, and it's yeah. But I think it's also one of those
Sorry.
things that
I need
for
to
me,
play it cool. Yes,
for me,
carry
it
on.
requires so much energy, and I want to give it my best. That I don't want to half-ass it, if that makes sense.
Okay, I got you, but
Right?
I'm still really excited. Like, goosebump excited.
So yeah, that'll be there, and then we'll see where the end of 2024 sets us up. I'm trying to now, put myself in a position where I can plan things like every year I would like Phoenix and I to go on a skiing holiday. Right?
Oh, so sweet.
And so
I
I want to
that.
plan my life around these kind
Okay.
of things.
Okay.
But yeah, that's my next 6 months. But let's talk about you. Where
Oh
now?
my gosh, that's what I've been trying to avoid.
Yeah, I know. Because you were going deeper and deeper into me. I was like, wait. Let's park that car, climb into your vehicle a little bit. And I think we can't speak about the last 6 months without speaking about, the power of resilience when it comes to you. That resilience, that capacity or the ability to not only withstand some of the most difficult challenges in life, but also to bounce back as quickly as possible from those challenges and be able to operate at an optimal level, which I've seen from you in recent times to remarkable admiration from me. I cannot even begin to tell you how much I am inspired by you because, I want you to take us back to this journey because it encompasses the last 6 months plus,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Talk me through what's been happening. if you can rewind that far back.
Yeah. Firstly, the most awkward moment is being the guest in your own podcast, but okay. Let's roll with
This
it.
is the safe space we promised everyone, right? So let's get into it.
And I think one of the reasons it was easy to agree to this conversation was because I've been doing it for many years and asking other people to obviously come forward with their health journeys. Sure, Kat, where do I start? I think the first thing is I'm grateful for life. And I had promised, and was the interesting thing is this has been, I guess, we've talked about this discussion and having this discussion now for almost 8 weeks. And I really want the energy and the message of what we're going to talk about to land in a positive place because we are going to talk about some scary things. So in a nutshell, I went through an unexpected health scare. I, first and foremost, am a woman. Like to believe I am one physiologically.
Hey, queen.
in a world of pronouns, still a she.
Got you.
So in that physiological form, there are obviously certain things that women are prone to being exposed to throughout our lifetime. And I've been healthy. Like I said the last time we were here, when we had our conversation with Good Luck, I mentioned that I was going for surgery.
Yes.
I obviously didn't go too deep into it. I just said that something had been discovered that was threatening
Still early
my
days
life.
to kind of process and
we
talk
were
about
doing
it
that.
like that,
So
right?
I guess today is where I unpack it a little bit in the spirit of sharing that everybody at some point is going to navigate something really, really interesting from a medical point of view. I am 41, so maybe let's start with the age, so that those who are nerds can orientate themselves of, okay, in 30s, I'm exposed to this, in my 40s. But when you are female, there are conditions that you could be exposed to having. So I, like any other normal individual, I would hope, go for my checkups once a year with my doctor. I have a doctor, right? A doctor who has a doctor. It's always an important point to make because we are very, very terrible patients. And I had a diagnosis prior to what happened to me of very well-behaved fibroids. Now, fibroids are benign masses that can grow in a uterus. They affect Black women predominantly, but all women are pretty much predisposed to sometimes experiencing fibroids. I think the prevalence of fibroids, scientists say between 25%, 30%. In some countries, even higher. That women from mid-20s onwards are going to have a chance of having fibroids. Now, usually fibroids, very well-behaved buggers. That's what I'm going to call them for the benefit of our discussion. They grow in the uterus, occupy space, and sometimes cause symptoms and complications.
Okay.
Mine were growing very, very quietly, not too aggressive. And of course, I'd been going for checkups. My then gynecologist, because I got treated by a different team when things went south, had pretty much said, listen, this is the intervention plan. You know, between 2022 and 2023, we had a plan. From my last checkup, 8 months from my last checkup, things took an interesting turn. I think the best way to describe this is when your body goes into overdrive without warning you. So what was normal masses then grew 3 to 4 times their size in the duration of 8 months. I can say that now because of what they eventually had to remove.
Yeah.
By the time I presented, so usually, you know, I'd go once a year for my checkup, but this time I felt something is wrong. So I had no symptoms, just to qualify for my female audience out there, because people always say, yeah, but our fibroids have symptoms. Sure, I was one of those that largely did not have symptoms.
Okay.
Right? But I started being short of breath. And I live in an apartment complex where my apartment is on the first floor. So I don't have much to exercise when I climb up or down.
Yeah.
But I just started getting progressively short of breath.
And this is something that you were actually aware of?
I was aware because of how active I am. So I love a good walk. And where I stay, I'm able to do a good 10 kilometers sometimes without any fatigue. But over the course of 8 months, I was noticing that I'm just not as fit for the same distances as I used to be. I initially just thought, oh, you know what? You're tired.
Right.
You run down, get burnout. You know, life was lifing at that point, right? There were other things that I was navigating. So I took myself to my doctor, as I would. And she pulled the bloods. And it was those bloods that was the first flag that something had changed.
Okay.
So
this is post the 8-month checkup. Or the checkup that you've done.
This is the 8th month. I'm now describing the 8-month checkup with my general practitioner, then revealed something had changed. So thank God I went before my next 1-year checkup.
Yes.
Because had I waited the 4 months, now that I know what was going on, I wouldn't be sitting here today. And that's the truth. It's not alarmist. It's just facts.
Yeah.
Because when they discovered what they discovered, I was 2 weeks, as my surgeon said, from having heart failure.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the blood work indicated that something was, for lack of a better term, eroding my blood supply, which then necessitated her to refer me to a specialist. Of course, because we were aware that we were monitoring a benign condition 2 years before, she then said, just to check, let's go to the gynecologist. My normal gynae wasn't available, so we then obviously opted for one who was. And as divine intervention would happen, that ended up being the surgeon I needed to deal with the issue. Her name is Dr. Marlena Tutoit, lifesaver, according to me, nothing short of a miracle worker when I look at what she then discovered. So when I went for her examination, I got confronted by what it must feel like to be the bearer of bad news. Yes, doctors, we're so well trained in how to be the ones who deliver the news. One thing I'd never anticipated would happen to me was that I would have to be sitting on the other side.
Receiving that.
So
take me through that, right? That moment, because like you've said, this condition that happens to
so many women,
especially black women.
Yeah.
You start feeling these physiological changes that you're like, okay. It necessitates these blood tests, which come out, and she goes, maybe we need to go and see a specialist. This all sounds like from that initial moment, it happens quite quickly.
Yes,
this is like we're talking about a week, then a couple of days, then it's like 24 hours. We need to have this checked out.
Right.
What's happening in your mind and in your heart at that time when you're receiving this news? Because you almost don't have the luxury to kind of sit on your laurels and take it in. You have to act fast. What was going on at that time?
I've been a doctor for 17 years. It's quite different when you are the one who has to now process news that could be scary and could change your life forever.
Yeah.
First thing, without a doubt, when I'm panicked, I become highly intellectual about it. It's my way of detaching from the fear.
Which can be very helpful.
Oh, to a point.
Okay.
And I say to a point because fear is not necessarily something that you should always feel will swallow you whole if you create avenues to address it.
Okay.
So your avenue could be a support system. So telling someone what you're going through, prayer, meditate, whatever you use. I think fear is dangerous when you try and detach from it. It's dangerous if it keeps you in an isolated space, because then you will start spinning. And news of the nature that I was on my way to receiving definitely needed me to make sure that I had support on the ground. And I think we sometimes, when we are scared, the first thing we want to do is kind of contain the fear alone, because we're not sure that everyone else is going to handle it. So one of the things I was guilty of, and I admit that openly, is my doctor self kicked in. And the first thing I wanted to do was to protect everyone close to me from the potential of bad news that could be hitting me. And it was a very, very beautiful disaster.
A beautiful disaster.
Because
describe that. How is that a beautiful disaster? Sorry, I was like so deep in. I think mentally I was with you in that room right now. So when you go beautiful disaster, I'm like, please describe which part of this is beautiful.
The beautiful part is the need to protect our loved ones from danger is in its very nature beautiful. It is a beautiful part of us as human beings. Disaster means it's not always possible. And that's why for me, putting those two terms together is an important thing, because I do feel doctors are notorious for this, and also A-type personalities. We like to think we can deal with things on our own.
Right. Or that we should.
We should. That's even a better term.
We can. That's a questionable thing.
Yeah.
But it's like we should. I remember when I was kind of like going through my personal life crisis, whatever it is. And I said to my mom, I hate that I have to speak to you and call you, because I hate this complaining, like, oh, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that way. Because I felt like, but gee whiz, you are this old and you've had enough life experience. You should be able to cope with this on your own.
You've said it perfectly. That's how I felt. And as someone who had looked after and taken pride in looking after so many people's well-being, the last thing I wanted them to panic was about mine. And I didn't know how to break that barrier. So I'll take you into the room. Let me take you back into the room of what news was broken to me. Now, obviously, I'm a doctor who's heard the C word for many, many years.
Yes.
So I'm familiar with the word.
Have you had to say it to
I've
someone?
had to break news to a lot of families and a lot of patients. And not all of them have made it. And I think when I went into the examination room, the C word was the last word I expected my specialist to look at me and say, I'm genuinely concerned. So there is a rare form of cancer of the uterus called uterine sarcoma. It grows aggressively. It has a very poor survival rate, sometimes as low as 5%. And the speed at which these masses, we'll still call them masses for now, had grown, unfortunately, by the time she examined me, took into consideration the blood work, took into consideration the history of my symptoms. She touched my belly during the examination, looked at me and said, I'm genuinely worried. Now, this is a surgeon with more than 20 odd years experience. So
oh my gosh.
we don't worry you as patients unless there's cause for concern.
As doctors.
As doctors to patients.
Yes. I'm trying to walk this and I'm thinking, do you feel like, I mean, they were amazing and we'll talk about the professionals, but in that moment, because they know that you're a medical doctor, right, were they more clinical with the delivery of the news and less sympathetic? So like,
correct.
Do you know what I'm saying? Rather getting to the point, like, I am concerned.
Did she think I could handle it, basically?
Which for a normal person might have thrown you over the edge. How did you experience that?
I do feel that before I'd even gotten to the bed, you know, great doctors have a great way of giving you what they call a lead-up conversation.
Right.
So while she was taking my history, she was already rattling, well, it could be 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. But it's when she examined me and she was feeling, I guess, and I mean, I've palpated. That's why we call it palpation, when you examine patients and you touch them.
Sorry, what does that mean?
Palpation basically means an examination through touch.
Oh, that is.
So we can examine your abdomen, we can examine your chest by
through palpation.
That is palpation, right? And there's different procedures and techniques that we do when we are palpating. So while she was touching my abdominal area, that's when the facial expression definitely changed. And I think that's when, for me, in that moment, I did a wonderful audio conversation with her that is available on my page. I love what she said when she said, we are very, very, very beholden as doctors to the reality of having to tell you the truth. And sometimes the truth is telling you what I'm thinking clinically as a doctor in that moment.
Yeah.
So what she was thinking in that moment was, there's only one of two options that can explain the accelerated growth here.
Okay.
Because typically fibroids do not grow at this pace.
Yes.
And that's when things changed, because every other investigation from that moment on was about excluding the worst. And it's in that moment where I stopped being a doctor and I became a patient.
Wow. What did that change in you? That transition from doctor to patient. So yeah, what does that mean? I'm assuming to a certain degree allowing yourself. We spoke about like using that fear that you have to allow you to now open up.
Yep.
And communicate to those closest to you.
Yes.
And I would assume that to a certain extent, then giving control.
Sure.
To those medical professionals. In your space, to handle things, because now it's out of my hands.
I think that was the first difficult challenge I needed to overcome, Kat. Is you? I think you know me well enough to know how much I revel in being able to take care of.
Yeah.
And my take care of has always been defined.
It's like your superpower.
Yes, defined by taking care of others.
Yes. Yes.
And I was now facing a moment in my life where I knew from the moment she shared that thought that I would only have capacity to take care of self. It was new territory for me. And the second challenge that I had to face was, oh, heck, it's not just the like average C that's being considered here. It's one of the worst kinds. So the second thought that definitely then crept in is, if it is that, I am walking towards an end.
Wow.
And I don't think you can explain the idea of finding out you might have a terminal cancer diagnosis. I can't explain what that feels like.
Yeah, I mean, because I remember the conversation we had when we were taking a walk on the promenade, and you were telling me this, and there was no indication as to that extent. And so I'm assuming that you were dealing with it within your own mind, your own heart, trying to synthesize
and
this
you were good at calling
and
that out, by the way, because you said you talk so dismissively about something that is
but you understand that
I said something to you like, and I might die from this, and you were like, wait, hang on,
how are you just saying that? so what helped you handle that? Because I do also think that part of your superpower, learning or being able to take care of other people and being in a place where you could speak about it so dismissively certainly might have been helpful. And hear me out. Not in a denialistic kind of way, but in the clinical medical kind of way, that you've got to deal with the reality.
Right.
Like,
Right.
and I'm going to say it, I might die. Okay, cool. Now that I realize that, I need to do everything within my power to help my body, my mind, to fight the fight
Yes.
whilst acknowledging the danger. Because I
Yes.
think sometimes we allow fear in whatever circumstance, whether
take
mental,
over.
physical, to take over and drive you more towards the dreaded end because you give it too much power.
Yes. I had to choose what I wanted to invest in.
Yes,
Once the
yes,
possibilities
yes.
were laid out to me, and one of the things I do want to share with the pluggers, because they might think this is very strange for a doctor to ask of another doctor. My surgeon, one of her conditions on that examination day, she said, please do not Google.
Yo.
So you've just been
Did
given
you Google?
a potential. No.
Okay, good.
I am proud to say until this day, I am probably yet to Google the full clinical journey of uterine sarcoma, because there is still a part of me that's processing that it could have been me. And it's good that I say this part early, because then at least pluggers know that the story doesn't end with me having
Yes.
the thing.
What's the danger in Googling? Why do doctors say don't Google? Because some people might think, well, that's going to be helpful. It's going to put me in the picture of where I am. What am I dealing with? What do I need to prepare myself
Sure.
for?
She was specific with that to me. So it's not usually a term we would say to non-medical patients.
Right.
Let me put that disclaimer.
Okay.
It was a specific instruction to me, and a very personality-related instruction. I've been doing health education my entire career, right? I educate people on all kinds of things. So of course, the first place that I'm going to go and research and get my head around is, for her, the do not Google what is not necessary, do not go online and check things. It was, do not start investing into the possibility of this diagnosis. Doctors, we're very interesting creatures. When we've got something like a diagnosis that can seem impossible, we want to solve it. It's like a puzzle. So she knew that if I extend energy, and this is where I guess the second reason I must give her credit of why she said do not Google. At the time she was examining me and investigating me, call it a workup, I was in bad shape physically. So my blood count was so low. Like I said to you, she said I'm 2 weeks from heart failure. Now you have such little reserves already. The last thing you want to do is pile on the stress on the body. And that at that point, me Googling to her meant me exerting energy that was likely going to leave me even more terrified about the journey ahead, which means anxiety, which means depression, which means all the things. My mind needed to rest so that she could fix my body to be healthy enough to go for the surgery to remove whatever the problem was.
So, yes.
Because the one thing we agreed on that day was the cause of the problem, which are the masses, needed to be removed.
Okay.
They were causing enough life-threatening complications, blood clots included, and low blood count and all this crazy stuff. They needed to be removed as quickly as possible. Now, in the conversation of the lesser of two evils, to keep your patient calm means my mind and my body need to be at rest.
Yes.
And the one thing she felt that was going to endanger that was if I went down the rabbit hole of research.
Yeah.
Because that also made me aware of how intense that type of cancer is. Because if an whole doctor says to another doctor, do not Google, I knew what she was trying to say to me. Don't go down this road. It's only going to take away more mental energy that you need right now to survive.
Can I give you props for that? Because personally, I believe I would have been like, no, sharp, let's go out, doctor, let's go out.
If I told you the millions of times I wanted to Google.
And especially, you know why? Because I know that post that investigation and post the MRI that you went to.
You were there for the MRI,
there was a lot of lead up time to the surgery. There was a lot of time that you had where that could have been like, let me just quickly. And then you go down this rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So remaining disciplined as a patient in that way and listening to your doctor was so important, and trusting them.
Yes.
That they are there to take care of you.
Listening to doctor and God.
Yeah?
Because there was only one source to lean on. Once you can't lean on the doctor part of you, there's only one left. Because I was relying on science to tell me what was going on. I did expect to know what we were dealing with before they cut me open.
Yeah.
And so what really put me in harm's way mentally was the MRI was my destination point of we're going to find out.
Yeah.
So when I come out of that excruciating thing, which I told you about, and the results come back and it goes, we cannot delineate if it is or it isn't.
Hey, not delineate. What does delineate?
Basically, clarify.
Yeah, we can't clarify.
If it is
So it
the
means
thing, the
that
monster, or it's not.
Yeah. So be
That
prepared for the fact that it could actually
going
be.
into a surgery not knowing was not a situation I ever thought I'd ever be in. In most of my journeys with my patients, we know. I can say probably 8 out of 10 times as doctors, we know the definitive diagnosis before we cut you open. To walk in and be one of those patients where we don't, to know that I would have to be strong enough to go into that theater, calm enough to survive surgery, calm enough to wait 10 to 14 days to find out what my fate is, that nearly took me out.
But then one of the most amazing, and I hear you, but I wish that, there was like a bit of a Truman Show effect to this, where we could have seen like a real life, day to day, blow by blow happening in your life, because I think that a lot of people could draw so much inspiration from this. What you then did is you assembled the Avengers.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes.
There was a community of people around you whom you put in specific places and positions in terms of communication to friends, to family, protocol of this is how it's going to go, where you basically prepared your community for the worst.
Yes.
And then allowed them, armed with that information, to take care of you, which I think was incredible. How important was it for you to do that, and where did you come up with that idea and to know that it would be helpful?
I have a father who's a cancer survivor, so I'd like to give him a lot of the credit here, because when we went through his journey in 2014, I was a newbie in terms of dealing with the magnitude of what a cancer diagnosis can do to everybody, but I had been the only doctor in the family to deal with it. So I had seen the power of support and creating an organized support structure. He, in my eyes, is one of the strongest people I know. One of the calmest people I know. And I saw what that journey did to him mentally. And so what came back to me when I was now sitting in a similar chair, you could say, was I remembered the value of having those certain people in the corner of supporting not just him, but us as a family, and how it got us through as a family. There's always someone who's readily available to have the conversation with you at any time of day. There's always someone who wants to be cooking for you all the time. There's always someone who just wants to know what's going on so that they can pray with you, be with you in the darkness. They are the people who aren't afraid of the darkest places. And there are those who really, really need almost a hand-holding journey into it. So I looked at the fabric of the community I live in. And I also looked at, well, who do I trust with my story at this point? Because my story, according to me, was uncertain. I didn't have a diagnosis. How many people did I think in that moment could handle that uncertainty of, she's going in for this thing. We don't know if it could be the deadly one, the deadly cancer. She's not in the best shape for surgery. There was just so many moving parts where I knew if I didn't survive, who did I want to know the true story? If I did survive, who did I want to know the true story? Because there was risk in the surgery itself. And that's why it took the specialist team 3 months to prep me, because they needed to make sure my heart could handle the surgery.
Oh, my goodness.
It wasn't just about removing this mass and all of that. It was me physically being in a decent shape to go through being cut open.
You got to be surgery fit.
That's right. And then surviving post-surgery to get the diagnosis and whatever other treatments that lay ahead for me. So I chose the circle of support based on people I've trusted over the years who know me well enough, including my own friends and family, and people I believed would need to, at the very least, know what was happening to me, whatever the outcome was. It was a small circle, and I know I get to live with the consequences now, but I'm glad that I chose who I chose. I have zero regrets about that, because I look back and I know for a fact I wouldn't have survived without all of you guys with me.
I just had a very strange question cross my mind.
Yeah.
We might have to cut this out, but I'm going to ask you anyway.
Go ahead.
But like, was there a part where when you were going through this, you said to yourself, but Joe, I'm a doctor. I know all the things to do in life to take care of myself, what not to do. How is this happening to me?
Oh man, the why me? What a powerful question. And no, we're not gonna cut this one out. I had my why me. I had my why me several times. When I talk about the fact that it was the surgeon and God who took over the uncertainty, I was awake almost every night leading up to my surgery between 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the morning. Every night. Every night wondering, is this it? In one of those nights, I had the courage to write out my will. I had the courage to write out my funeral plan. I went into the places you go to, I guess, when you're facing something that could change your life that way. I also went into very beautiful places of hope, spiritually and mentally. When I talk about the 1 to 4 a.m., there's a reason I always say we're most vulnerable and our hearts are the most honest. I used to joke with my patients when I would counsel patients going through hard times. I'm like, we are most vulnerable and honest between midnight and 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So when you're going through a hard time, your heart will wake you up. And whatever it needs in that moment, that's what you give it. But when your heart wakes up afraid, call on powers bigger than you. And that for me is where God did his most important work with me to prep me for my surgery. It was on those hours between 1 and 4. And it was like clockwork. My mind would literally wake up and be like, I don't think we're going to make it. What do we need to do? So I'd get the thing that's bothering me out of my head. So if it was a funeral plan, okay, let's write it out. And after that, go straight into prayer and be like, whatever is ahead of me, God, be there. Just be there. I've lost a lot of people in my life. We all have. So I know what it looks like to lose someone and it's unplanned and it's unexpected. I've journeyed that, whether it's a friend, a relative. So one of the places that kept me sane was, well, if it is it, at least I get to know. So I get the opportunity to plan the goodbyes, and the other side of me knew that if I'm lucky, if I get to be one of the lucky ones, and by some miracle, this thing is just a rogue bunch of tumors that have just decided to mess with me. Also, I was sure that my life was changing because the way I received the support made me realize I must have done something right in my life to receive so much of it. But it also made me sad because I realized when you close yourself off as a human being and you don't allow people to love you back, you miss out on so much of that love. I'm glad that I opened up at the right time because it was before the op.
Yeah.
My intellectual self had gone into super defense mode to say, no, tell everybody after the op, after you know the diagnosis. There's no point in telling people they're going to be worried about. I went into all of that. My heart, in the nick of time, said, no, we don't do that now. What we do now is invite people to love you because what if it's just a couple of months that they've got to do exactly that? Opening up my heart, opening up my mind to not walking alone is what saved my life.
I have another strange question.
I like your strange questions. Okay, yeah.
And mostly because I've thought about it as well.
Yes.
When you consider mortality, right?
Yes.
The fact that we all know we're going to die, so someday it's going to happen. And I think, oh goodness, I hope it doesn't happen before I get to give, let's say, my child everything that I think that I could have given him. So that makes me kind of sad in the sense that like, oh, we won't make the memories. He won't get to experience me like this. What were you, it might have been in those hours between 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock.
Sure.
Or any other time when you were considering, let's say, the worst.
Yeah.
What were you most afraid of?
Okay, I got to keep it together for this one. I didn't want my unexpected passing, which is what was the possibility, to
It's okay.
To cause the people I love suffering.
I get that.
The protector in me felt incredibly exposed with this journey because there are people, as you all know, that I hold very dear. My parents, Mam Kuku, Bab Kule, my adopted parents, the Kumalos, my sister, my amazing sister, Snekuku, who I see myself as a non-negotiable presence in her life as her big sister, because she gets to always have to share me with so many people. My big brother, my friends, you guys. I realized how much love I've been blessed with my whole life. Because sometimes when you spend so much time giving, you don't realize how much you've got. So when I thought about the possibility of not being here on this earth longer, the biggest thing I was afraid of was what shape it would leave everybody in. One, because of the surprise of the diagnosis. Yeah. You know, a good friend of mine, Timothy, we've been friends for more than 12 years. He said to me, "You are the picture of vitality and vibrancy when I look at you." And he's like, my whole friendship with you is based on that. He's like, I don't know what it would have looked like to hear someone tell me that you've got this thing, because it feels so disconnected from who you are. And I realized in that moment, that's exactly how many people who get to hear the news that their loved ones have some kind of deadly condition, that's exactly how they feel. Not you. So I was now the statistic of the not you. Right? And I had to look at that honestly and go, illness hits all of us at unexpected times. We're not immune. We're not invincible to that, right? The power for me was, I've always joked, if I'm going to go, I'd like it to not be a violent way. I don't know. I have a thing about that. You know, you can't control how you leave this earth. But I was like, when I was in one of my nights when I was praying, I was like, oh, one of the things at least God you're giving me is here. I get to have my wish. If it is this, I'm going in a way where it's graceful.
That is by far the most incredibly positive way of accepting mortality that I've ever heard. Like, you know what? At least you gave me that one thing. I'm like, at least I didn't drown. I didn't want to drown.
I was like, I'm gonna God like the G that I am, educating everybody on cancer. In my darkest moments. But that was the thing I was most afraid of, the people I leave behind.
Yeah.
And that also then played into the fight.
Okay.
Because it was the very thing I feared became the very thing that I fought for.
Like, if there's anything, I need to make sure that my body and my mind is as healthy as possible to feel like I did everything I could to not cause that harm.
Yes.
Or that perceived harm, because it wouldn't necessarily have, it's no fault of your own, right?
Sure.
It's life happening and it's unfortunate circumstances. But that's incredible that you were able to take that big fear and turn it around into being the source of your courage.
That was the thing that stopped me from Googling. You wanted to know what stopped me from going down the rabbit hole? It was knowing I had so many reasons to live for. And every day, I knew every day that I fought the darkness meant a day closer to me being healthy enough to get the surgery, to get the answer, to beat this thing. So I used that as the fuel.
Hey, we're not Dr. G. You are revealing things in my mind right now.
You know what I've just thought of? Because I've heard the analogy that, and my friend Uvolo, you know him, has always been about this idea of slaying, and I think he also read it somewhere, but like slaying the dragon where it lies, right?
Oh, I love that.
And that metaphor Meaning that, if you're facing a challenge in your life, instead of trying to turn your back on it
Yes.
and pretend like it's not
Yes.
there, and thus give it time
Yes.
to grow
Right.
and metastasize.
Love it, yes. Dr.
Yes.
Maboe, Dr. Maboe.
Rather face it,
Yes.
go straight to
Okay.
it. And it's perhaps in that stare down
Yes.
that you're looking at that thing in the eye, like you did, that you realize, oh, but there's that weakness in that, the chink in the armor of that thing
That's
that
it.
allows you, like a hard-boiled egg.
Yes,
You open it,
that's it.
and then you find the soft inside. You're like, this is where my strength lies.
In facing the beast, I found my greatest reason for hope.
Can you write that down on a t-shirt somewhere? That whole analogy needs to go on a t-shirt here. You're like, wear it around.
Don't worry, there's
That's
enough
incredible.
energy for us to create all the merch you want this year.
That's incredible.
So that was where I was. And I'm so glad you asked me what was I most afraid of, because
It's real.
you helped me realize today what was one of the magic pulls that got me through. And the rest became easier. The rest became easier because I also had to sit with I've got to be healthy enough to go into the op,
Yeah.
then healthy enough to wait for the news, then healthy enough to face whatever the diagnosis is, then healthy enough to do my best to beat whatever it is.
Yeah.
So every day became about be healthy enough. All I had to do was show up for my body every day and be like, what do I define as being healthy enough? And sometimes being healthy enough that day was, if I wanted to release the fear by crying, then I cried the whole day. I called the friend I'd cry with. I'd call the friend I'd navigate the unknown with. And obviously my best friend, Tseho, is a doctor as well. And she's been in my life for 20... How many years now has it been? Yeah, definitely 23 years. She knows my personality very well. And she was part of the medical team that helped navigate things between the doctors
Yeah.
and my friends and family. But one of the things Tseho has always been good with me on is appeal to my intellectual side. So she could hear in the tone of my voice when I was hiding
Okay.
emotion, hiding fear, whatever it was. And she'd go,
You need those people.
she would be like, I'm here, speak.
You need those people. Like, don't give me the fluffy
Yeah,
thing.
she's
I
like-
don't want fluffy.
I'm here, speak.
Give me the
ask
truth.
me the question. You have a question, ask me the question.
Okay. So now, in my mind, in the story,
Yes.
and please take me back if I'm missing any
Sure.
important bits of it, right?
Sure.
Comes the day of the op.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Oh,
'Cause
my
my mind-
favorite day.
And here's how I liken it, right?
Okay.
This is nothing near to it, but I once had to go bungee jumping
Oh my
for
word.
a shoot for a show that I was working on.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
I had done everything that I could to prepare myself
Yes.
for the day of bungee
Yes.
jumping. I'd
Okay.
watched the videos, safety elements, what could happen, even saw actual footage of this actual thing
You
that I
did
was
that?
about to do. Yes. But I thought
I
to
could
myself,
never.
it's a way of preparing myself.
Okay.
Sharp.
Okay. Braver than me. Okay.
I promise you, it could not have prepared me for the moment when I was standing on the edge. It was like, right? So what I'm trying to figure out is on the day
Yeah.
after
Match day.
match day. Thank you for that analysis. I love that. Having prepared yourself, not Googled, body's as healthy as it can be.
Right.
Everybody knows what they need to do, what
Right.
position they play.
Right.
Now it's you
Yeah.
and the table.
Yeah.
Play.
Oh man. Nothing says you are human than not having any control about what comes next. I'd done the work. I'd done the work of having my bloods improve. I'd done the work of having my stress levels managed because I'd been benched. So I had to stop working. I was on sick leave for
Yeah.
a total period of 6 months. So I'd done the work. On the day, what I know preoccupied my mind was, am I going to wake up?
Ooh. Sheesh.
So I knew the odds. That even with PrEP, I knew the odds because, like I said, I had two conflicting blood conditions. One, was the clotting, the other one was the bleeding. So you can't have both. Any surgeon will tell you, you can't have a patient that is a clotting risk and a bleeding risk. Like, you can't.
What, the clotting could lead to heart failure?
So you could, while they operate on you, you can pass a clot from wherever the clots were. Mine were at, I think it was my right leg.
Yeah.
Could have traveled from my leg to my heart, and it causes what they call a pulmonary embolus. It blocks important blood vessel to your lungs need oxygen, blah, 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 right?
Right.
The bleeding risk part of me was because I had such a low blood count. If I lost any more blood during the op beyond a certain volume, obviously then my body would also shut down, and you could have heart failure on the table or cardiac arrest. So either way, I knew that in order for everything to go well, my medical team also had to perform like their lives depended on it, which meant they had to do an operation that's usually about 3 to 6 hours in as short a time as possible, so that I don't run the risk into being a surgical ICU case.
Yeah.
I really have got to give credit to Dr. Toy, because she was very deliberate on, I don't want you ending up in ICU. So she did a lot of things from a preventive point of view, including obviously benching me and getting me to the best place possible so my body could handle the surgery. She didn't know what she's actually going to find in there. I mean, she'd done all the tests, but until you cut a patient open, you're really not sure what jungle you're going to meet.
Right.
But when I did wake up, the beauty first was the fact that I heard voices, because that's how you know you're alive, right? Good anesthesia is not supposed to make you remember anything. So the first moment when I woke up, I was like, I survived it. Best feeling ever. I was like, beyond this moment, nothing matters more. I got to such an interesting place of Wusa where I was like, beyond this point, I can face the diagnosis because I survived part 1. I went in and I got back up. I knew what that would mean for my family. I was very happy.
Pause. I want to give you flowers for your bravery, because, and I keep going back to this because the closest thing that I have to it is this
the bungee
analogy
jumping.
of the bungee jumping.
Yes.
And I know that at that moment of just before you jump, there's that split second where you can go, no, cancel. And then they go,
Cancel
okay, pulling back, take off the thing, walk, you're done. You didn't have that choice.
No, I didn't.
When you're there,
Yeah.
you give yourself over to the process, to your faith, to all of your resources, and you let it happen.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine how difficult that must have been. So whatever it is that you had to do in that moment, I don't even know if it's possible to articulate it, because I'd love to climb into that part of it. But the fact that you did it, and then we fast forward to however many hours afterwards where you wake up and you go,
Still
I hear
here.
voices. I've made it. Thank you, God.
Yeah.
Nothing else matters from here.
Yeah.
I just wanted to just take that moment, because I don't know if you've ever given yourself a pat on the back to say, no, I did that. I walked to the plank and I jumped.
Yes. I think now that I'm hearing, because we're playing it back this way, and I haven't had a chance to play it back, I'm understanding also the difference between, I guess, having a healthcare that's an emergency where you don't get to consciously walk into danger. Like, if you have a car accident or something, you immediately are thrown into, we got to save your life. You're not as in control of what happens next. I guess when I think about it, I had 3 months before the op of consciously choosing to live. I had the op itself to survive it.
That's what I'm saying. The conscious decisions that you were making.
Maybe
all
I'm a bit
throughout
gangster.
You are the real Dr. G. Please stand up.
I still wouldn't want to go through it again, but okay.
No, of course not.
I appreciate that. And I'll take it. I'll take it because I know how much it took out of me to be that person every day. But the greatest feeling was waking up. Really.
So voices in the theater. Were you in the theater at the time, or were you on the recovery?
I was in the recovery, part of the theater, and one of the coolest voices I heard was, I had the joy of having my GP come into theater with me. So she did a whole video recording of what was happening inside.
Wait. Did you wake up on your own first? Did you wake up and then you hear, boop?
Yes.
Boop.
Yes.
Okay, then you're like, okay. then you press the button.
The Grey's Anatomy
The Grey's Anatomy thing, right? And then you press the button to alert everyone, hey, I'm awake.
Yes.
Did you think anything or say anything to yourself before pressing that button and inviting people back into your world, into your life?
The first thing I said was, thank you, God.
Yeah.
That definitely happened. And then the second thing was, where's Sive?
Yes.
He had been the assigned family member
who was
had
there
gone
with you.
into theater with me. So that was my second thought, because I needed someone to go tell him as soon as possible that I'm alive.
Yes.
And I knew how much that would mean.
Sure.
Because I knew it meant he could then tell everybody who was waiting on the phone
Yes.
to hear the same news.
And now that
she made it.
That I mean, we talked about like your biggest fear.
Yes.
A little bit of that was alleviated.
Was taken away.
Yeah.
Was taken away. And that was the first moment. I didn't get much thinking time, because then the second voice was, then I immediately heard, she was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to tell you, you should have seen the monster in this thing. That's the immediate next thing I have is like my GP kind of tell me in the same doctor excited voice I usually tell my patients, oh my God, you won't believe what you survived. And I'm just like, okay, if I can just maybe get through the first 30 minutes of my life.
Only a doctor could make one of the most terrifying situations in your life sound like, so one time at band camp, we did this. Like, what are you talking about? Okay.
But I also have to give her a shout out for that, because in that moment, she made me feel like I had been a champion of something. She's like, you got this thing out, and Marlena got this thing out, and it was a really big thing. So when I found out that the total mass was 2.2 kilograms, I delivered a baby.
That was that's actually true.
And I think that was the thing that even the theater nurses, I believed on the day, were just like, that came out of that. When they were watching the video, it was interesting seeing everyone going, that came out of her. And I was like, yeah, I'm kind of shocked too, because we hadn't even had a chance to estimate what was going on in there. So to actually respect that my body stayed resilient throughout that entire journey of carrying something that was slowly killing it day by day. And to have it removed in record time. Also just big up to my surgeon. She did an op that is that long in less than 3 hours.
Yeah.
So she was in there like a pro. And the fact that she's female just also gives it, man. Look, I love my male surgeons, but power to the female surgeons. She was amazing. And the rest really was about recovery.
And so post that op, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, the removal of a 2.6 kilogram, as you said, mass. And along with it, I mean, you look at your body and you're like, wow, what an incredible body God has given me to be so resilient. But there have been some changes as a result of it, of course. Can we dive into that a little bit and talk about where you are with it?
At the time that they'd removed things, I had, like I said, had experienced some complications. And one of them is a very popular condition called anemia, developed iron deficiency anemia. Right. So in order for your body to carry enough oxygen throughout and to support you throughout a 24-hour day, it needs oxygen, and oxygen is carried with a protein called hemoglobin. Hemoglobin needs you to have enough iron, and so the story goes on and on. So this whole value chain of how you actually support yourself with enough blood and circulation in your body, I had pretty much depleted all my stores. So building that up was going to take time. And I think because certain conditions are said so lightly, most people don't realize anemia can be life-threatening if left severe enough. And I had severe iron deficiency anemia. So blood transfusions were important post-surgery. I had them. I had to stay on medication for 6 months. I then also had developed these blood clots, and blood clots also take some time. The surgeons had to decide if I needed vascular surgery to dissolve them or if I would survive on what they call medical therapy, which would be treatment, either injections or tablets. So all of that was what was facing me after. Add to that, we had to obviously also figure out this 2.2 kilogram thing. Is it, isn't it? So the first 4 days were about me recovering and getting out of the hospital. Then we knew we were going to wait another week for the pathology to come back, which is where they slice up the tumor and then come back and tell you it is this or it is that. And then I knew that I had a 6 to 9 month recovery from the blood complications. My energy levels were definitely not going to be great after surgery. Major surgery, I had what they call a total abdominal hysterectomy. So they had usually different types of hysterectomies. The removal of a uterus is done in different techniques. So one of the most common techniques is a laparoscopic hysterectomy, where they make small little cuts and then kind of extract the mass. Because my mass was so big, she had to cut me in the middle.
Right.
So she had to cut through a lot of tissue, a lot of muscle to get the mass out. And that means cutting through a lot of tissue. Recovery is much slower.
Right.
And there's different reasons why things can go wrong. I'm very fortunate that I didn't get most of the post-surgery complications. Mine were related more to the tumors themselves. Yeah.
Having had that total abdominal hysterectomy that you've just described,
Yeah.
as a woman, I could only assume that touches on certain parts of being a woman that perhaps made you think about, perhaps question yourself.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Did it?
I'm an interesting breed. So I think what also did help me navigate this journey was this idea of what does losing a uterus mean for me as Sidi, as a woman, but as Sidi. I've never had the privilege of being a mom yet in my life, biologically, right? But I've had a privilege of symbolically raising a few kids, right? And I'm always been a very happy, snappy, cool aunt. Still think I am, okay? Shout out to my nieces and nephews. And that has filled my space quite a lot. So when I was contending you're no longer going to be able to biologically give birth and be pregnant, which is what a uterus gives you the opportunity to do, I had to grieve that, and I did. I think sometimes you don't really know if you were going to become a person until you have to lose that role or function. I've also been someone who's very keen on different ways of being a parent.
Right.
So I always joke I'd make the coolest step parent. I think I would. And I've always joked about being a +1 partner. So whatever relationship I'm in, I'd always joke with my partners that, look, I'm going to add only one.
Okay.
Whatever number you already have of children, +1.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So I laughed. I remember laughing with a friend of mine going, well, God has kind of given me a get out of jail free card here, because now I can say there's no uterus.
Oh, wow.
We're gonna have to figure different ways of being parents.
Right.
But it's also given me a really great agency in researching other ways to have children, one of them being surrogacy. I think that there isn't enough conversation around alternative ways of still being a mom, especially if you've also lost your uterus in unexpected ways as a woman. I think we only think about fertility in the conversation of you being, as a woman, being the one who gives birth. We haven't spoken about fertility in a broader sense. So surrogacy, adoption, all those things have been interesting conversations for me to genuinely now think about. Should I still want the opportunity of being a mom? But yes, I grieved my little friend. I called my uterus my little friend. She was good to me. She's a she. She was good to me for as long as she can.
Yeah.
She got bored.
You are such a doctor right now. Oh my days.
Like, she got bored. She started making her own children.
Wow.
So there is this twisted part of me that really that goes to that place to go, bye bye sana lwami.
Wow. But I mean, it once again just kind of goes back to, the person that you are and how you've handled this in such an incredible way.
Thank you.
I've never met someone like you, and I think my life is richer for knowing you.
Oh, thank you,
because you and I have had many conversations
yes, you
regarding
really
challenges in
traveled
life,
with
and your ideas and how you contextualize things is incredible. And I'm wondering right now, maybe you could tap into some of the positives that you've pulled from this entire experience, and especially like how it has influenced your relationships.
Oh man, I'm closer to all of you differently. When the pathology results came back and it said it's not that.
Oh yes.
Oh man,
It's not the C word.
It's not the sarcoma.
The sarcoma.
Right?
Yeah.
It was a benign tumor, and benign tumors can still kill you,
Like you
but
said.
mine didn't, right? But it wasn't the deadly one that, my surgeon was the most concerned
Yeah,
about.
because that could have resulted in further complications down the line in your life.
Chemo, I mean, we're talking the whole thing. Yeah. So to know that in that respect, God said, not you, not now. Survivor's guilt was an interesting thing because there was a part of me that had felt like I'd prepared so much for the bad news. That when the pathology comes and says, we've sliced it 10 different ways to Sunday and we don't see any of that. I was like, oh, okay. So I get to live. But what about all of those where they've gotten the worst news?
Wow. You think about that?
Yes. It was the weirdest thing that on the day I got the results, my first thought wasn't, I celebrated, but I was like, oh, I wonder what it's actually like for those who don't get the news that I got. And that has changed the doctor I am now, because I realized in my moment of being spared, which is what it felt like, I had the opportunity to not hide this experience from anyone who was going through the most. Because I think with my Dr. Cape, it was also easy for me to go back into being tempted, like, okay, now I'm great. Let's carry on like nothing happened.
Right,
and I was like,
no.
I can't be that girl anymore. I get to be the person first and the doctor second. And the person shares yes, when times are dark, friends are few and all of that, but also when times are dark, you can get through. And I was like, that's the story I know I need to come. I had to figure out, what am I back for?
Have you figured that out?
Not yet, but I'm excited because every day I'm getting more comfortable in this new skin of mine, which is the skin that says I'm okay taking off the caregiver, caretaker, if it helps more people relate to overcoming. Overcoming is important. We don't often talk about the gritty part of it. We like to put the quotes and things on social media where you can see someone's really going through a hard time. But we are a very interesting community when it comes to pain, emotional pain, physical pain, mental pain. And wellness for me has always meant the inspirational part. How do I inspire people to live healthy lives? And I was like, sometimes wellness is also about how do I help people navigate the toughest part of their health journeys? And the peaks and valleys are equally important. So while we do amazing work in inspiring people on how to stay well, one of the things that I picked up positives from this experience was how to help people also dig deep and face the beast. Because that's usually the part we hide from social media.
Yeah.
How did you get through that? You were gone for 2 years. You just came back and then you just carried on. It matters sometimes to give people a window of what it does take to get through there, and hope that for someone who is in the dark, who is fighting battles and demons that are unspeakable, and they're finding it difficult to share, I'm hoping that they get a moment of courage to say, all right, I'm not alone. Let me figure out who I need, what I need to get through. I want more people to get through, and to get through in a realistic way, and for us to also stop glamorizing it and romanticizing it. Hard times are hard. And it's important to give each other the tools that we use individually and collectively to get through. It's not just getting by, it's getting through. Because for some of us, we'll be spared and we'll get through. But sometimes just going through the experience can leave you with lasting trauma that you don't always overcome it mentally. And I knew that once I was a survivor, the next step was to make the recovery count.
Yeah.
And step one was talking about the recovery.
Yo. I keep having this visual in my mind of, and it relates back to what we were talking about at the beginning, about like, where you at and feeling like shattered glass, like a fall. And linking up to this entire conversation that we've had, feeling like you're standing in a room where everyone's holding their glass of water, and then yours falls and smashes. And then you know what happens when that happens, when there's a quiet, and then whoosh, everyone goes, and they look. Now you go. But in what you've just done, you've said, no, it's okay. I'm going to pick up the pieces. And then when I'm done putting them back together as best as I can, I'm going to show you.
Yes.
And tell you.
Yes.
That this is what I did. And it's an amazing thing.
Because for some people, the glass stays shattered even after they are through the physical stuff. And not everybody who makes it is changed for the better. And I think that's another thing about recovery that we often assume, is that once you're spared the worst from a physical, I guess we're going to stick to the medical part. Once you're spared the worst, you're going to be okay. You should be okay. You should be grateful. You should be thankful. You should be jumping up and down. No. And I'm like,
not the same.
There we go. I knew I was not going to be the same. I knew it.
And perhaps, you could be.
And all I've been happy and to figure out is what has changed about my world, and what do I want to change for others because of that. And the first thing I realized was the facing the beast story is an important phase 1 for me. Because we don't speak about that, even on podcasts. But there are so many beautiful moments of wisdom you can get when you get to physically see your strength play out. Because it's a God-given strength.
Amen.
I hope I've shared enough.
That was wow. I mean, obviously we've walked this journey, and I've been part of it to a certain extent. But this was another level of engagement with that journey.
And thank you for being the one who gets to be on the other side of helping me share this, because there are so many people I need to and want to thank for that part. Even when we started the Wellness Plug, for me, you and I have always spoken about, it's about community, it's about being real. And I felt like deliberately we both got almost a rude awakening. We didn't know we needed, but sure, for it to be happening on a journey while we are doing something like this as well was powerful in itself, because it was a moment of awakening for me to say the work you do when things are good will help you stand the test of time when things are bad. And I leaned on things like this work to go, you can do this. And I looked forward to simple things like when I came in here today, it felt like Christmas, right? And the team will tell you, I was literally losing my mind with joy. Every small thing mattered. The cappuccino, being at Radisson Red, our podcast home. These are things I didn't think I was going to get the chance to do again. Yeah. And so the simple things have taken on a whole new meaning for me. But I also feel like we're driving a different bus this year with the podcast. Yeah. We're driving a bus where we get to say it with our chest. When we say a topic and we break down a topic, I hope that our pluggers from this moment really trust us for the right reasons, because if we're not afraid to go here, then the rest of the fun stuff of the wellness energy we bring in should be well received. But I'm just grateful. I'm grateful to be here. I'd like to thank my beloved parents, Bab Mangiskule, my mom. I'd like to thank Mam Basitana Kumalo and Bab Romeo. I'd love to thank my brother and sister, my sister Snekuku, my brother Nkulego. I'd like to thank my chosen family, you, Lerato Maleswena, Sive, Ngelwane, Sive, oh man, you. Sure, Lerato Masemula, my best friend, Shekofato Maimelo, my other best friend, I say that always, Salamina Musese. I had diehard friends during this process. My really amazing circle. It's impossible to remember everyone now. I'm feeling very emotional, but just know all of you, Sepati Huma, Dulani, Beryl Grant, Bongan Lutuli. There's just so many of you to thank. Thank you for being in my corner during this time when I was away, even from social media. I think that was another thing I was really nervous about when I returned to social media, this comeback thing and trying to explain to people, where were you? When you're that consistent as well, when people are so used to being consistent as their support, when you disappear, it does have an impact. So I hope I have respected everyone who's asked me questions about what has happened. But life does happen. Yeah. And I really do think at the end of the day, I did what was best for me to be back here. I put in the work. And I don't regret most of the things that I had to do to survive. I don't.
Yeah. Oh, we love you. And we're so
here.
Glad that you're here.
We are here. Can you see my proof of life?
I can see it. I can see even in front of you, there's some very exciting things about to happen.
Yeah. So I think for me, the point of being resilient, it's about knowing who you are internally, but also knowing what you need. And if that's what I can leave with the pluggers, then for me, that's the definition of resilience. And with other things that we'd like to leave our pluggers.
Yes.
The first thing is being back is so sweet because we have some amazing pluggers out there. And one of them that I want to give a shout out to is this incredible human being, Chad, from Northern Plateau, Rooibos. Now, Rooibos is one of those exclusive natural parts of South African history. We obviously know Rooibos tea.
Yes.
Right? And I love a good Rooibos. I don't know about you. I'm a fan, like it's my winter treat.
Indeed.
And he's followed us for quite a while. So when he saw that you and I are coming back, he was like, oh, the wellness plug. Let me plug you guys for a change. So I just want to give Chad, I don't know if you can see this, guys. Like, this is an amazing gift box. You can do this basically for your company. Oh. And it's got an entire collection of Rooibos teas. Lovely. I don't know. I think I'm going to read. This is an education for me and you, Kat. I thought I knew everything about Rooibos.
Wow.
Did you know that the medical plant name for Rooibos is Aspalathus linearis?
I did not know that.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I'm going to ask for a cup of Aspalathus linearis next time I'm at a restaurant.
So he's given us an amazing gift pack of Rooibos teas of different flavors. We've got lemon, blackcurrant, honey,
flavor. Oh,
vanilla. He also gave us welcome coasters for all the hosts. And I know you said you really love the message in this.
I love it says keep calm, drink Rooibos, and reduce wrinkles. I'm like, yes. I am your target market.
So if you are also want to be plugged in to the Rooibos movement, you can definitely follow him at NPR Rooibos on Facebook and on Instagram. He is on Albert Road, 378 Albert Road. He makes this amazing collection of teas and other Rooibos products. I think for me, what I loved about the surprise is it has our faces on.
I just noticed that now. I didn't realize that now until you mentioned. Like, that's so fully customized. What?
Chad, you are the best.
I love it. I love it.
So I think we're going to get for the whole team. I think we should definitely celebrate this as a family. And Rooibos tea for the win for winter, especially if you don't drink coffee. It's a perfect gift. And then, of course, we've got a very interesting game.
Talk to me about because we've got
we are within. Can I give you your customer card?
Dango.
So we have this interesting game that we're introducing for you in winter. You can never be bored. Load shedding will not cost you your sanity this winter. It's cards
because we know load shedding is coming back.
No, it is. Oh, sorry, they don't know.
After
you're my friend, they don't know.
After the 29th.
Yo, let's tell them. It's coming. It's coming back. In every camera. It's coming back. Sorry. The stress levels that come with it is coming back. So we want to alleviate some of the stress.
Sure.
This is inspired by the fact that so many of us have played card games our entire lives.
Indeed.
I mean, we were talking about 30 seconds and how it can result in a wrath
and
destruction of friendships.
It can make or break.
I hope Within won't. The name of our cards are Within. There's 3 types of stacks. The first stack is general questions. So you can do this sober or not. I'm not going to judge. You can do this with friends, family, couples. It's going to shuba either way.
Okay.
So let's give them a taste. You're going to pick a card from any of the 3 stacks. The first stack is general questions. The second stack is what we call yes, no, or maybe. So you will be given a scenario And you, to every answer, 7 options, you will say yes, no, or maybe. The third stack is really the fun one that I hope a lot of the pluggers get involved in, which is tasks and activities. We don't sometimes know how to show love and acts of kindness to each other. And some of these are really entertaining.
Okay.
And some of these are really tricky.
Oh,
so
my goodness.
We will leave the activity one now because the pluggers will have to see us do that.
Yeah, because
we'll have to live that in
this.
real life.
Okay, sure.
Right now, you pick a card. And
Okay.
I will then...
So there's
you
general-
pick a card, I will ask.
So there's general questions here and yes, no, maybe more.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, so I actually haven't touched these cards.
He does
So
not
this
know.
is my first time. I'm going to go for what seems a little bit more risque, which is the yes, no, maybe.
Yo.
The general questions seem
Okay.
like, okay,
You can shuffle and pick your
Oh,
card. It
okay.
doesn't matter, brother.
Okay, get it
If you
wrong.
don't trust me, sometimes trust is...
Get each job. Okay, there. I'm going
Okay.
to go with the yes, no, maybe top one. So what do? Do I give you
You
the
give
card?
me.
So you
give
ask me the questions, I say yes, no, maybe.
Oh, yes.
Don't do that. Why did you pull your face
it's
like
just,
that? Wow.
Yeah, which beverage are you drinking?
Oh,
Oh, America. Okay, water.
Water?
Yeah,
I've just had an
you're gonna need more
Americano.
water because I feel
I
like
thought that was the question. No, that's not a yes, no,
No.
maybe question.
I feel like Lerato just entered the building with this card.
Wow, the voice from within.
Okay, which of these build intimacy for you in a new relationship? I'm going to give you 7 scenarios, and all you answer is yes, no, or maybe.
Okay. Wow.
Okay. Number 1, having regular conversations about each other.
Yes.
Number 2, planning date nights.
Maybe in terms of it like creating, because the question is, does it create
Which of
intimacy,
these
right?
build intimacy
Yeah. Okay.
for you?
I like spontaneity, so planning it would be like, maybe.
Okay. 3, being able to solve problems as a team.
Oh yes, that is a big yes. Let's solve problems together, and I come on, we are. Shit. Okay, I can see where this could go.
Right? Left. Number 4, traveling together as often as you can.
Big yes.
Okay.
Big yes. I love traveling, so that would be something that I'd like to share with. Yeah, okay.
Okay. Number 5, being frugal with finances. Let's see.
It's a maybe.
very
It's a maybe
careful.
because frugality for me
Okay.
kind of links more to be thoughtful.
Okay.
Be thoughtful. Like when you
I
are
like
going to be
that.
spending your money, spend it on things that are worthwhile. Don't just spend for the sake of spending. Weekend DPT. No, be thoughtful. And for me,
Future partners, please take note of these answers. Carry on, comrade.
yes. Oh, I like this because it kind of leads one to have to. No, you don't have to. But I feel compelled to explain.
Yes.
Is that mansplaining?
No.
Okay.
That is the trick of the yes, no, maybes.
Oh,
is
I like that.
Especially if you're playing this with a date.
Yeah. Oh, this
You
is a
are-
great first date thing.
Exactly.
Oh,
We're almost done. It gets better. Number 6, making room for quality time with each other.
That's a yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and chiefly because I think life happens so quickly.
Yeah.
And so much of our attention is asked for and required out there.
Yeah.
That I feel like you need to, for me at least,
Okay.
plan. Like, okay, on this day we're gonna do this, and on
Yeah.
that day we're gonna do that. Put it in the calendar so that if anything else
Man, that's
happens,
good.
it's like, no, I am not available on that day.
That's good.
So I think
Oh,
that
that's
would help
good.
me.
Oh,
That would help
I'm into this game already. Okay, and of course, last one, finding common interests and hobbies. How important is that to you in building intimacy? Do you need to both love soccer?
Not really. It would be a plus.
Okay.
But I'm quite fine with having, let's say, my interest in this, and then I get to do it on my own if it's something that doesn't interest you, and then you have your own. Because then when you come back, we got something to talk about. But
Okay. Okay.
there's a but.
Okay, what's the but?
But at least have a decent enough level of interest in that thing,
Okay.
so that if I bring it up in conversation, we actually have a conversation.
So don't fake the
Yeah.
What's the cricket score? Just saying. Sometimes the guys can tell, ladies, that you are
That's
not
hilarious.
interested. Just ask for the credit
Oh
card if
my-
you must go. Okay, how was that?
That was great.
Okay,
I really enjoyed that.
I am going to go into the dungeon and choose a general question.
Okay, so I get to ask you the question.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh
Wow.
my gosh, what
Oh, I
is
love the
It's a vibe, eh?
yes.
What the wellness
What do you
plug?
call that thing again? But look at the writing.
The font?
It's called the
Can we help
font.
him plug us the font? Maybe, but also in our English days, the text.
The text. My data bundles have been depleted.
Ready for you.
Okay. Here's the question.
Yeah, I feel like I must drink something.
Yeah. What is one secret you'd like your partner to know when it comes to the bedroom? Yo! Where did you pick that?
Yo! I would like to.
I would allow you to skip this if you
Should we
want to.
now push the PG-18 button?
Okay,
Can I
if you want
choose,
to-
can I choose
one,
another
think
question so I
maybe-
can still have friends after?
I'm glad I didn't choose general questions. Okay. Here we go. Who should pay for a date? The one who organized it or both parties? That's a great question.
Oh my word! And as a fellow dater, I feel like I can represent myself very well in this answer.
Sharp.
I believe the one who organizes the date. And I'll tell you why. I'm a big planner on some things, but I also am spontaneous and romantically so. I never expect my partners say my spontaneous idea is a hot air balloon.
Yeah.
So the idea of me now, like inviting a partner to this date and then expecting him to be the one who swipes for the hot air balloon.
Right. Yo,
It's tricky.
that's very progressive of you.
Right. I will, however, say though, it's incredibly romantic and generous when a partner then offers to pitch in. And some partners do.
Yeah.
So the thing I'm learning about my spontaneity in dating is also receiving
Yes.
the generosity. So
Right.
if I plan something because I've just been dying to do it with someone and they go, okay, I'd like to pitch in. Even if they pitch in the full amount, it's okay.
Right. I get you.
The issue I have is when we're expecting our partners to always be the ones who are coughing up for dates. I'm not that girl.
Yeah.
I'm not that girl. I'm okay if the girls come for me. I love chivalry like the best of them. But if I'm the one who's inviting, I'm okay with the one paying, being me.
I love that. You know what I love about this game though? and I'll say this. You know
Because
what
it's going to cause debates.
Not just that.
Yeah.
But it kind of, like, you pick the card
Yes.
and I just read what's on the card. No matter how controversial it is, I just read what's there and
That's
then it's
it.
your choice to then engage honestly with it, which could lead to fun conversations and explorative conversations as well. It takes the pressure off of asking the question. Let's say if you're sitting on a date or you're with a
Yes.
group of friends.
Yes.
And you've been checking out, hey sis, I don't know why I did that. But you know what I'm trying to say? Like, you're with your friends and everybody knows.
Did you have someone in mind?
No. I'm just saying, all your friends know that
Right.
TD likes that dude.
Right.
So we're gonna have this game right now, and one of these questions are gonna pop up, and everyone has to answer it. And then when it gets there, we're all gonna watch.
The truth shall out.
Next thing we're like, yeah, we set you guys up. On the wedding day, they're like, we set you guys up for that game, right?
That would be
was-
such a cool story if within is in that kind of place. And you know what? That's exactly what we want for our pluggers. So if you want to get
That's
your
great.
stack of cards, don't even delay. We're taking pre-orders already. Just hit us up on the Wellness Plug Podcast at gmail.com. Hit us up on our social media, and we will make sure that come winter, your winter is as fiery with
Plus
the
they-
answers you need.
The cards feel really nice.
Oh, they are
Look at the
fantastic,
font.
right?
I love it. This is amazing. You know what? I like that you didn't start the sentence with a capital letter. That's weird, but I like that. Am I weird? Yes, I am.
You're the weirdo that is my vibe.
Well done. Well done.
Man, we are so proud of our first merch. This is our first merch
Yeah,
as the
officially.
plug. So we are
Officially.
plugging you into bringing wellness into your home. Please play these cards. Tell us. Send us the reels. Maybe, but
Yes.
send us the good ones. We want dates that go well. I want the good moments. Don't send me the question that broke you. It is not Within's fault.
Terms and conditions apply. Battery, salt,
But on that note, I am so excited about season 3. I think if we're starting on this note of fun and creativity, we have an amazing season ahead of us. Thank you for always riding with me, little brother. I could not have it any other way.
Likewise.
You're such a rock star. And where can they find us? Those who are still trying to get familiar with the Wellness
Oh my
Plug.
goodness, yes, we are on every social media platform conceivable.
Thank you.
Right?
Finally.
Instagram, Facebook,
TikTok.
X, TikTok. YouTube.
I know.
So wherever you search for the Wellness Plug podcast, you will find us. Subscribe, follow, hit that notification button.
Come on.
Because we've got the cameras here as
I
well
mean,
to
come
make sure that
on.
you get to see the visuals as well.
Come on.
Where we are dripping out in urban supply.
Come on,
the
shout out to
brother doing
Urban.
the things. So yeah, keep in touch with us. We can't wait to have more
man.
enriching conversations with you throughout
Absolutely.
this season.
And we're going
We
to
love
see
you guys.
you on the second episode. We've got those guests coming. So you just stay tuned to our socials to see who's next on the Wellness Plug. Until then, take care of yourself.
Never end the good. Shouldn't. I got experience too. Never end the good. 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 Never end the good.